Namaste. Uh, Namaste, everybody. Yeah, Deepda. Namaste, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Now Vimash podcast. So today we are back in an hour's time with a new book today. So we're going to discuss today's book, The Joy Bangla Deception. We have the author, Mr. Kaushik Gangopadhyay, with us, and we are privileged to have Mr. Deep Haldar, the senior contributing journalist from the print. So he is a special guest for us today. So welcome to both of you. Namaste. Yeah. So am I audible? Koshikda, are you able to hear me? Because
I could hear you very well.
yeah, please respond so that I need to check.
Yes,
Deepda,
I was
am I
thinking
audible
this
to
for the
you?
audience.
Okay. No, no. So fine. So today we are going to discuss Kaushik Das' book, The Joy Bangla Deception. You can see here. So before we start the podcast, let me show you how and where you get the book first. So it's a customary thing that we have to do. So we have first of all few of the reviews that has come, initial reviews of the book. So we have seen here Prathapato Roy, a writer and former governor of West Bengal. He has mentioned brutally honest in his book. We also have Dr. Richard L. Benton, human rights activist and geopolitical commentator. His mention in the book is an honest discussion on Bangladesh's past, present, and the future. So initially, the book has garnered a lot of attention, a lot of rave reviews for its truth, portrayal of truth, its analysis, and the way it has been discussed with thorough research and quotations from people of repute here. So now, as you can see here, the book is available with Garuda and also with Amazon. As of now, in Garuda, the book is okay. I think I am not sharing the right. Yeah. So this is the Garuda post. This is where you can get the book from Garuda. It's a pre-order now because after the book was released in a few days, the book got sold out. So congratulations, Kaushik, Da, on your book getting sold out in a few days. It's really hard to see that a great book and writer like you has been able to achieve this, and we really uh, are proud of you.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So now we're going to start discussing the book. So I'll start with Koshikda first. And Koshikda, the name of the book, The Joy Bangla Deception. I think a lot of people who are not familiar with politics of Bengal, they might not be familiar with the term Joy Bangla and the word deception. So could you decipher for us how the title is made and what it actually means?
So basically, when Bangladesh got independent, their slogan was Joy Bangla. And then it is used now as a sense that victory to Bengal. And it is sort of, there are so many organizations with some major political establishment in Bengal. They use it as a slogan of their own establishment. And it is sort of conveys a proud Bengali or sort of pride for Bengali language, this sort of a sense. Now, this entire notion is completely deceptive. I have quoted a leading politician of Bangladesh, not after 2024 August, but before that, who was a very prominent minister in the prime minister in the Hasina cabinet. He said that Joy Bangla is not a slogan of the Hindus; it is a slogan of the Muslims. And effectively, what he was conveying is basically Joy Bangla means conquest of Bengal, not victory for Bengal, It's a conquest of Bengal. And this Bengal is not only the Bangladesh map, it is
Mm-hmm.
basically entire Bengal region, of which West Bengal is also a part of. So the deception is in the sense that the Bengalis, at least Hindu Bengalis of West Bengal, they always think, and there are so many organizations that talk about Joy Bangla as a sense of countering imperialism of this language and that language. But essentially, it is actually they are completely being hoodwinked by the real purpose of the slogan.
Yes. So I have gone through your book, okay, but I will not reveal the full plot of the book. Let people discover it. So we're going to skim through a part of it, okay. So we'll start with the first section, section one. So section one mentions busting the myth around the language movement. Who really started the language movement? February 21, 1952. The narrative versus the reality. So, and to actually add to that, in my channel as well, so I had invited Mr. Kinshuk, who had lived in Bangladesh for 4 years due to his professional commitment. And he has lived through 2021 incidents which happened during army rule. So he was actually a kind of an eyewitness to what you have actually written here in terms of his portrayal, how the adoration takes place, how the Jai Bangla movement was something which was superficial in nature as per the Bangladeshi society itself. So first of all, who really started the language movement and the narrative versus reality. So if you could shed light a bit more on that.
Um, the question was to me,
Yes,
no? Okay.
yes, 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 yes.
Yeah. So when I grew up, we used to chant a slogan, sort of a song. আমার ভাইয়ের রক্তে রাঙানো 21শে ফেব্রুয়ারি ভুলিতে আমি কি পারি. So essentially it means 21st February is sort of full of the blood of my brother. Can I ever forget that? And it is sort of told that the Bengali students, they were going again for for the honor of their mother tongue, and the police showered bullets and people died. So we try to, this is the narrative that plays on in the Bengali psyche. In West Bengal, all over, we celebrate 21st February. And it is not only Bengal, it is the UN, the United Nations. They have conferred upon 21st February the International Mother Tongue Day. And it is written also, I've quoted, I'm paraphrasing of course, that this is a sort of a expression of pluralism and this is the expression of harmony, this particular day. And I have shown this cannot ever be far from wrong. The moment, I mean, a few months after Bangladesh got independent, a small minority there, the Chakmas, they came asking for recognition of their own language, their own mother tongue, and they have been shut shop. They have been shut the door in their face, and they have been told that you must be Bengali, forget your own language. And this is what we are celebrating as pluralism. And because we are doing this hypocrisy, what is happening, that has there is an internal motion. When you sort of say no, negation to a bad thing, it gets sort of a pushback, it kind of goes back. If you don't do that, it explodes. And this is what has exploded on August 2024.
Yes. So, and also you write about Dhendranath Datto, the brave heart. So, I think a lot of people outside Bengal might not know about him. So, if you can give a little bit of insight into who he was, Dhendranath Datto, and his contribution.
So Rabindranath Datta was a freedom fighter. Now problem was many of the freedom fighters, they were stuck in Bangladesh. If you look at the names of the freedom fighters, uh, I mean we know that East Bengal was a Muslim majority, right? That's why he went to Pakistan. But if you look at the freedom fighters, all the names I know of are all Hindu names. Now they fought, they shed their blood. And then what they have found themselves? They found that they are in a land called Pakistan, and either they have to be refuged to come to India, or they have to stay as second class citizens in a country which is sort of a new Medina. Now, what they have chosen is sort of, to some of them, the brave ones, to stay there and fight on the face of terrible opposition. And one of them was Dhirendranath Datta, but of course he was not alone. There's other people there with him. Srish Chandra, he was a very great barrister at Kolkata High Court. And there was Rajkumar Chakraborty, a professor. There was also a what we call Dalit leader, Prem Hari Barma. All these people were part of the Bengali Hindu community. And our Indian National Congress, they called themselves Pakistan National Congress, but when they are sort of stuck in Pakistan. And these people went to Parliament, Pakistan Parliament. And there they started. Dhirendranath Datta was from Kumilla. Kumilla was a sort of a cherished district. I don't know whether Deep or you are from Kumilla, but I'm not. But so this is sort of a very, people sort of very proud of this district. Many good people are there. And he was from Kumilla. Tathagata Roy, for example, the governor, ex-former governor who wrote something on my book, the introduction, the preface on my book. So he is also forward, rather. He was also from Kumilla. And then basically, Datta, he was, along with this Pakistan National Congress leadership, he tried to fight. And they fight from the Constitution Assembly itself. The first thing they said that 2/3 of the people of Pakistan, they speak Bengali. So why not you make it a national language? At that time, all the Muslim members of East Pakistan, who will be rather become the big leaders in Bangladesh now, all of them were silent in the Constitution Assembly, right? So if someone must be given credit, it is not that Barkat Rafiq, that fake martyrs. I mean, I would say fake martyrs. There are statues in their name in Dhaka, but if you look at them, then basically it must go to Dhirendranath Datta, right? But if you see Dhirendranath Datta, there is no major road anywhere except the road in front of his home. Nowhere in Bangladesh that is named after him. There is no big national monument in Dhaka or anywhere else that is named after him. There is a stadium in his hometown Kumilla, but that is also generally called Kumilla Stadium. Nobody calls it Dhirendranath Datta Stadium. So that's what it is.
Yes, so I'll come to the second portion of your section 2 of your book, and then I'll come back to Deepta. So you mentioned the second section 2 of your book called The Propaganda of Joy Bangla. So here it's a very long chapter. Okay, so there are a lot of things which are there. So would you like to like summarize or give some insights into the chapter that the audience will be reading when they get the hands of the book?
So the
Something that you
basic
want to say.
essential point is Bangladesh is not separated based on demand for language. It was already given. Pakistan given all the status of Bengali that they could, and that they are enjoying now in Bangladesh. The same status was given under Pakistan. So there is nothing like that, that it is something they cherish. In fact, the salient program that is sort of kicked Mujib to the limelight, and he became the undisputed leader of Bangladesh in the late 1960s. That was 6-point program, and none of these 6 points are about language. So none of them is about language, right? So basically, this entire narrative is flawed. It is, but there is a lot of resentment there, and it is about basically economic issues and other things, like it was there in many of the third world countries, and it sort of exacerbated to a limit, and then it sort of gave rise to big separatism. But that is sort of the sum and substance of it. But it's not that I'm just postulating it. I've given examples for each of the hypotheses I'm putting up, and given the research.
Yeah, so I am just going to name the chapters, okay, because this is something which I would request everybody. The book is now for pre-order in Garuda, so the link is there in the description. Please go ahead. So you're going to find details, find quotations, or find narration, which has not been seen in the publishing world or in the media, because it has been a long time. 71 is a long time when the war was fought, but these new revelations are quite quite revealing, and they give you a perspective which was missing for decades now. So I will just quote the chapters for the audience. Awami Muslim League, religion at the heart of East Pakistan politics. Bhashani, the leader, well-known leader, and the dream of greater Bangladesh. So I'm going to just talk about a little bit more here because this is some provocative thing. Bhashani and the dream of greater Bangladesh. And then on this part, I will also come back to Deepta. So, Kaushik sir, to you on first. This chapter 4, Bhashani and the dream of greater Bangladesh. Could you just shed a little bit light on this chapter? What is talked about?
So the idea that Bangladesh is sort of a nationalism itself is a problematic. It is an imperialism, but not imperialisms have a lot of power, right? So that time they have to sort of keep themselves under sort of what nowadays is called takia. So you have to keep yourself under some wraps, you know, wolf in sheep's clothes sort of thing. But that's pretty much it. But the inner ambitions are prominent. And one of the masters of Bangladesh narrative is Bhasani. How big is Bhasani? So many Bangladeshis, they don't like Rabindranath Tagore. So they hate him, and we all know why. And because they hate him, they don't want his song to be the national anthem of Bangladesh. And they want a alternative song. And that song has Bhasani in it. It says that Bangladesh, the line is basically saying that it is the dream of Bangladesh, that the nation we are. So that's sort of a thing. And Bhasani is sort of not a small thing. He is celebrated by CPIM West Bengal. Last year there is a conference and they are celebrating Bhasani. And what this fine ideologue of Bangladesh is saying, he is saying we have to get Assam, we have to get Tripura, we have to get West Bengal, and then and only then Bangladesh map will be complete. And this is the fine gentleman where CPIM is celebrating. At least their dailies are celebrating, their website is celebrating in West Bengal.
Yes, so on that context, I'll come to Deepda. Deepda, so could you, because you have traveled in Bangladesh, you have talked to people from rickshaw puller to the presidents. So, from your perspective, what is this greater Bangladesh movement perspective that the Bangladeshi people have? Could you shed a bit more light into that thing?
So, firstly, I spoke to just one president, so no. The current one, Mohammad Shahabuddin Chuppu, and I spoke to him on just when he was a president elect. So he had not become taken office yet, but he was kind enough to speak to me and give me a very interesting quote, which was there in the book about the 2001 atrocities on the Hindu population after BNP Jamaat came to power, which he investigated as part of a judicial commission because he was a judge. So he investigated. There was judicial 5-member judicial commission which he headed in 2006, and he went back and kind of looked at the atrocities that happened across Bangladesh. What you're talking about, Greater Bangladesh, look, I mostly traveled at a time when Sheikh Hasina was firmly in power, and whatever was happening inside Bangladesh, and I have written a lot about it, that I think Delhi constantly made a mistake of thinking that Bangladeshis are very gung ho about India. They're not, and it's not just the communal fault lines. Even the civil society in Bangladesh did not really look up to India as a great power and a strategic partner, but the two governments did. From government to government, there was great strategic partnership between Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and Prime Minister Modi. But the civil society did not take kindly to it. And in fact, one of the reasons why Hasina got so unpopular was because they saw her as some kind of raw agent, or Modi's plant. At least Modi helped her continue in power. That was the underlying narrative in Bangladeshi civil society. Greater Bangladesh, I have heard from time to time, but I have to admit that I have heard it more here than there. And as Kaushik rightly pointed out, that once Sheikh Hasina was gone, people could actually come out and speak about it like they're doing now. And from the common man to all the radicals, right up to Muhammad Yunus, he didn't use the word Greater Bangladesh, but he did talk about the Northeast as if it was, another country. And he has been talking about it for quite some time. Chicken's neck has been talked about by very very senior retired army generals. They are academics. So of course this sentiment of sort of looking at India in a way that does not definitely suit us, not that they can do anything about it, but definitely doesn't suit us, has been on for a long time. But I did not really hear about it because, like I said, there was Hasina and there was her hard power. So whatever was happening among Muslims and Hindus in Bangladesh, at least on the face of it, India and Bangladesh during her tenure shared a great strategic partnership. So she would have made sure, like she did, that such conversations did not come up. What came up was the Hindu hate, which we saw spectacularly during 2021. The anti-Hindu riots that took place over a piece of fake news, even when she was in power. Then we again saw it before she left power during a cricket match, where Bangladesh came out in large numbers to celebrate India's defeat in the semi-finals. We again saw it in the India Out campaign, boycott India campaign, which was which was not just a on the street campaign. It was also happening online through its topmost YouTubers, right? So of course there was a sense in Bangladesh even during Hasina's time of which was not too friendly towards India. However, I don't think that they really spoke about very openly, at least to a foreign journalist like me, about the idea of a greater Bangladesh. But this was heard. I mean, in West Bengal, you could hear these conversations. In Delhi, you could hear these conversations. Frankly, if I have to be very honest, I thought of it as, a right wing, pardon me, but a right wing conspiracy theory from India. But I was very unpleasantly shocked when Hasina had to go the way she had to. I of course understood that now the Hindus are going to face huge pushback. The atrocities against them are going to go back, and there would be nobody to stop them. But I was a little surprised by how, with the Yunus administration, it becomes so cool, so okay to talk about, to sort of diss India's sovereignty, talk about chicken's neck. I mean, it's one thing for Pakistan to do it, but for Bangladesh to do it so soon and at such high quarters, that came as a huge shock. So I think my reading of Bangladesh before Hasina sort of had to fly out was not deep enough in this. If that's what you were asking, that I could not really hear a lot of buzz about Bangladesh wanting a greater Bangladesh with parts of India cut out and joined with them. Perhaps because their public conversations were controlled a lot by Sheikh Hasina. So what they said in public were controlled a lot by Sheikh Hasina's ecosystem, not just by her, but by and her government, by the Army League ecosystem. So they would not allow such a conversation to come out in the open. But of course, it could not have just happened after she left power. No, it must have been there in their heads, in the heads of many people, that this is how we look at India. And neither did I know that there was such great. I knew that it's a little bit of a forced construct, the Pakistan hate, because 1971 was a very long time ago. So people who were young in 1971 would be what around in their 70s, early 70s now, right? So there are whole generations that have grown up in Bangladesh after that, and they are not sticking on to the idea of 1971, what India did for them, the whole training of the Mukti Jodhas. It's a whole new generation that would not just through the prism of religiosity, but also look at India as a big brother which should not meddle in their internal affairs anymore. That's a very strong sense. Even people who sort of do not directly say that there's hard religiosity, which is the bone of contention. Even they say that India is like a big brother in the neighborhood, and Bangladesh is a sovereign country, so we don't like that. You get what I'm saying? So now all of this is out in the open, and some of it, not the Hindu Muslim thing, but their ambitions of wanting to sort of capture Indian land, Indian territory, and they're sort of they being so blasé about it. This definitely has come as a shock to me. Also, as also their sort of collective fondness for Pakistan. So I knew that okay, they are not sort of. Uh, I mean, they don't celebrate the 1971 story as much as their earlier generations did. But I did not quite realize that they felt so close to Pakistan. That definitely sort of was an eye opener.
Yeah, so on that front, we'll take a cue from Deepda and go to the section 3 of the book. The idea of Bangladesh is a beautiful lie. So what a great name that you have given, Kaushik sir.
Yeah.
So could you give a bit of insight this code, the idea of Bangladesh is a beautiful lie?
Yeah, so firstly, thank to Deepda for writing that quote in his book. I just borrowed it from there. Um, now, when we hear about Bangladesh, what do we think about? We think about a linguistic nationalism. We think about a celebration of the indigenous values. But from the day one itself, when Mujib he landed and he gave his first speech, I think that was 10th or 12th January, getting on 1972. The first speech itself, he actually gave all the idea that it is not a secular. I mean, there in the constitution it was secular, of course, but whatever appearance, whatever the hints he gave, is all for a Muslimness of the land. And this is not I am saying. This is said by a very prominent, respected person in Bangladesh. His name is Abul Mansur Ahmed. Abul Mansur Ahmed was at the front of Pakistan movement. He was an editor. He was the editor of a big daily from Kolkata, uh, called Muslim League Daily, and then he migrated, and then he eventually became a cabinet minister of Pakistan, and he was given the National Award of Bangladesh, and it is also being said that he is the right brain behind the 6 point program. He was very close to Mujib. And he said himself in his own book that Mujib gave all the notions that he knew the pulse of the people, and he gave all the notions that this land is to celebrate Muslimness. This land is based on the Lahore resolution of Pakistan that made Pakistan. So he is actually saying that it is built on the same ideas on which Pakistan is built upon. We are building the nation upon itself. And this is not a very religious extremist person, anything like that. I mean, he used to be considered a very balanced person. He was said that he is basically like Khusband Singh, used to call himself culturally Sikh, but actually atheist. This guy never said atheist, probably it was not acceptable in a Muslim society. But he used to say that my Islam is only for my Muslimness. So it is about a cultural celebration, nothing beyond that. So it's a very balanced person is saying these words. That makes a lot of sense, right? You get my idea. Now, once you and this the entire chapter I have shown how this secularism, which was done just to appease India, you have to remember the time. That time, it was the time of socialism. It was the time of communism at its peak, and of course, Bangladesh could have been born, of course, by Indian army, liberated them, but other unless Soviet Union stood at the back of this entire thing, they might have not been able to come out, right? Because America, they sent their naval, I don't know, Seventh Fleet or something here, and then Russia sent their own fleet, and that's how they sort of backed out, right? So essentially, this is of Russia, and then that idea has to be promulgated. So this is why he sort of said secularism, and many Muslim countries, there are Muslim countries which are communist ideas, they call themselves secular. It is Bangladesh was something like that, but those Muslim countries may not have a narrative like Pakistan does, and Bangladesh continued the narrative of Pakistan. So this is how it became what it has become. Um, so that is what it is. And I, in these 3 chapters, I have shown how This thing is first doing it through the ideas, and then through law and other economic aggressions against the Hindus. And you might say, well, Hindus and Muslims, it's a sort of husband wife kind of thing. You never know whose fault it is. Well, let's look at the Buddhist Chakmas, who are neither close to Hindus in a way nor close to Muslims. But again, all the fingers are points at the only at the Bangladesh establishment from the Chakmas, not at the Indian establishment of any operation. So that is sort of there.
Yeah, so I'll come back to Deepta. So I think you have traveled enough, know enough about Bangladeshi society from a very close perspective because you have spent a lot of time there doing research. So this idea of Bangladesh is a beautiful lie. Like whatever is explained by Kaushik sir, could you add your perspective to that? That how it is promulgated within the Bangladeshi media narrative perspective itself?
See, it's a beautiful lie because this idea never came into fruition. For instance, if you see any political crisis in Bangladesh, where the population, the civil society has nothing to do with it, it's just politics that's being played out. There will be an attack on Hindus. Even very recently, and I wrote about it on Twitter, I think yesterday, that there is a resignation drama that Mohammad Yunus did because the army chief wants him to hold elections as he had promised before during a certain period in time, which is December this year. Now he now has said that he anytime between December to June next 2026 he'll hold elections. But he saw this as an opportunity to sort of strengthen his position by threatening to resign. Then all concerned parties came and met him. The BNP met him, the Jamaat met him. The BNP, of course, now really wants the elections to happen because it's with Army League banned, it's theirs for the taking. The country's theirs for the taking. But one thing that got unnoticed, and very few handles on Twitter wrote about it simply because they did not know, because no Bangladeshi press had reported this. 20 Hindu homes were set ablaze. Now, somewhere deep down, in Jessore, some village, Joshore, we call it. Now, why would Hindu homes be burned? Because something is happening in Dhaka. I mean, and I quote tweeted somebody who put it out, and then some idiot communist wrote below that, is it true? So somebody else equally idiotic said, no, it's true, but that is not the reason. This is some other reason. It's over a fishing this thing gone wrong. Fishing contract gone wrong, which is bizarre. But anything that happens in Bangladeshi society politically, any political crisis, the first standing in the line of fire and the first row of that line are the Hindus. Okay, and it's not somehow fashionable to talk about it in West Bengal because West Bengal civil society has its own politics. But in Bangladesh, and I wrote it's a beautiful lie because even now it's happening. There are a lot of Bangladeshis and Kaushik and I know each other because we spent some time together in Pondicherry, and I'm not somebody who believes in very hard lines in society. I think everybody should talk to everybody, and there should be music and good food and cultural exchanges and beautiful cinema. All of that is fine. But the lie, because nobody acknowledges the fact that it's only one way. Like for instance, a lot of our singers, actors from West Bengal, you'd know this, singers, actors, film directors, sort of go to Dhaka. They see these 5 places, 5 posh neighborhood in Dhaka, where everything is very cool and comfortable, and they come back and say, oh, it's a great secular nation. The thing, and their actors and actresses are welcomed in our cinema. Nobody talks about the fact that in their cinema, their serial, how many Bengali actors and actresses are called. Okay, so it's a one-way street. Okay, so this great cultural exchange is a one-way street between Tollywood and their film industry and their OTT industry. And like I said, the Hindus are always on the first line of attack, and it's not even now, since the scale of attack has gone so much that even New York Times had to write about it after Hasina government fell. But it has always been like this. whether it's an army league government, a BNP government, military dictatorship, Mujib's death, every time Hindus have been under attack. There is no period in Bangladesh's political history where Hindus have not been pushed to a corner. It's only the difference in degrees, right? And somehow people think that everybody in army league were very secular. It's not. I mean, I have been there. I have spoken to Hindus on the ground. I Yeah, they would not sort of directly do a few things, but there are enough number of cases on the ground in Bangladesh when during Sheikh Hasina's 15 years in power, this term, this uninterrupted 15 years in power, where if some local army league leader goes to your farmland and says, I want half of it, you just give him half of it. Because who do you turn to? You couldn't possibly turn to the Jamaat or to the BNP or to the police, because Army League is speaking up for you. Army League is that one party where Hindus are, and it did a few things on the surface, like things like it actually put Hindus in some positions of power in the not just in the cabinet, but also say as higher officials in the police, in the military, in civil services, in foreign services. There were a number of Hindus who the Army League government put in, but that's like window dressing. But this whole idea of Bangladesh that Kaushik so eloquently spoke about and has written about, that it's somehow this Joy Bangla deception. It is a deception, because Joy Bangla was supposed to celebrate this idea of Bangladesh, but this idea of Bangladesh it's somewhere very fundamentally flawed, because it's only something that people spoke about, wrote about. It did not really enter Bangladesh's bloodstream, not to the extent it should have over the years. Now, there is, having said that, I have also been to villages where, see, it's not as if it's not there at all. It is there. It was there. I should not say it is there. It was there. Like, you'd see people celebrating festivals together, not as a religious thing, but even Muslims celebrating Durga Puja. Durga Puja used to be, and it even now is to an extent, a huge thing in Bangladesh. Okay, but it has not over the years changed how Hindus are looked at in Bangladesh. One of the common slurs in Dhaka University, which is a very sort of rarefied zone, is that if you have to get angry at a Hindu, you'd call him a raw agent, or you'd call him a Malayun. Koshi would know this word. It's a pejorative term. It's a slang used for Hindus, right? You would be called a India agent, raw agent, Modi agent, right? Even friends, when they fight, sort of Hindu guy. And these are all first-hand instances that are heard of. Now, this great sort of temple of secularism should have, since 1971 to 2005, 2020 to 2025, done better. That's all I'm saying. It's so whatever the celebration is of what he says, what Kaushik says in his book, that it's a celebration of secularism. It's not. It's Hindus are now most definitely, but even before, second-class citizens. I have had. I mean, I don't know how he is, where he is, but somebody who was in a very senior post in a Dhaka TV channel, Dhaka-based TV channel. The gentleman told me, very senior post. He's a Hindu married to a Muslim woman. Told me that not a day passes where, in some way or the other, they are reminded that it's not cool. And this is Dhaka. Okay, and I'm talking of the year 2022. Okay, and he said that it's not. I mean, it's not that there are no cases, but there are very, very few. Where you can be Hindu. The other thing is, okay, you can be a Muslim. You can be a Hindu girl who a Muslim guy marries. But if you are a Hindu who did not convert and married a Muslim, even if you, firstly, though it's very difficult in the hinterland, but even if you do it in Dhaka and you've come with a lot of privilege, it's very tough. Now, if our leftist friends are listening to this, it can very well be pointed out that, is it easy in India? No, it's not easy in India if a Muslim, and I get that. But in the big cities, you'd see larger number of people who are, where the guy is a Muslim and the girl is a Hindu, where they have gotten married, is in a live-in and staying together. In Bangladesh, it's very, very, very few, right? So, see, it's not that our society is perfect. It's not. But in Bangladesh, it is definitely way, very far away from perfection. So, as far as secularism goes, and as far as treating Hindus go, and Kaushik is right about Buddha. I spoke to a Chakma activist, young Chakma activist, and he was saying that, Dada, you have written a book called Being Hindu in Bangladesh. You should write. I ask you to write a book called Being Buddhist in Bangladesh, or being a Chakma, being a tribal in Bangladesh. It's not easy. I mean, it's we are constantly reminded that we are not part of the mainstream, you know, and you do see some of that in India as well. I mean, let's not lie, but it's not. I'd like to believe it's not that acute in India. Okay, and for
Yeah,
the number of years that Hasina ruled, and the fact that her father was the founding father of the nation, it should have done better. But they put it up, they celebrate it as a great, uh, great sort of victory for secularism, and that's why I said it's a beautiful lie. They should have said that it's something, it's in progress, and we still have several steps to conquer before we can, call ourselves a truly secular nation. It's very in it's very Islamic. I mean, you'll always, like, for instance, it's so, like, pani, we say jol, all of both of you would know this, but everybody says pani,
yeah.
nobody says jol. Even the Hindus, na, they have started taking cues from very Muslim words, and which is okay if you're doing it by choice. But I have asked people, and they said that, well, there's no other way, you know so if you were to go to Dhaka, and if you say jol khabo, people will look at you. Okay. And I have been to, so I walk a lot. I have been to sort of, streets where I've seen this lone Hindu woman with a sindoor, and walking a child, sort of, or, taking her child back from school to her home, and everybody sort of kind of staring at her. It's not as if anybody's attacking her or anything, but depending on where you are, even in Dhaka, open display of Hindu religiosity, even in Hasina's time, was not cool. You have to somehow merge in. Get what I'm saying? That's why I called it a beautiful lie. And it took a. I have to admit. Firstly, I
Yeah.
have not read Kaushik for the book. I have to admit it needed a uh, more solidly academic research work like Kaushik's new book to establish what I was trying to say. Mine is very anecdotal, and Kaushik's book, like his previous book, is sort of is built is built on very solid academic foundations. So thank you, Kaushik, for that. I mean, I keep quoting you from Majoritarian Myth, and I give the car example, the big car and the small car. I have said it number of times, and quoted your book. And like I said, I'll quote from this book also in my next book.
Yeah, thank you, Deepda. So I remember reading Mulk Raj Anand when I school days. When I there's a sentence called "old cold stare." So it you
Yeah.
remind me of that word, "old cold stare." So when you describe a Hindu woman walking in the city of Dhaka and everybody staring at her. So Koshikda, back to you. So your last section of the book, section 4, called Neo-Bengaliness from identity crisis to appropriation and exclusion. Pretty heavy words. Could you give us a bit more perspective, the audience?
So, what is this? The identities. This is a much bigger sort of study is required. I'm doing a little bit of it. I've done shown a part of it in the book Majoritarian Myth. So, the idea of these rigid identities, theoretic identities, this is a problem for harmony. If you go back to the 19th century, that time the most of the Muslims, like Deep was saying that they celebrate Durga Puja as a big thing, but that time for most of the Muslims, Lakshmi Pujas, doing Lakshmi Puja, not watching, doing Lakshmi Puja was the normal thing. Actually, celebrating Eid was quite uncommon. And so we had a very, some people talk about Indian sort of Islam, Indian sort of Muslim. That was quite there in the 19th century. So we have something called Kadam Rasul. Kadam Rasul means we have these Hindu notions. We worship the footprint of the gods, right? Vishnu Pada Padma. When you do this Vishnu Puja, you sort of draw these footprints. On the same vein, the Muslims, they used to have a footprint of their Rasul, their prophet, and put it in a mosque. And that used to be the main mosque. It used to be called Kadam Rasul Mosque. I have seen that mosque in Malda, Goud. It is still there in Chattogram. It's a still big mosque. But gradually those mosques have been eliminated. And the Jumma mosques have taken over all over India, the main mosque, right? So the idea of the being Muslim was more of a, it was a harmonious existence in Bengal. And this is not I am saying, this is a lot of research have been done. Rafiquddin Ahmed, Oxford University Press, there's a book, and there are other works also. So this is sort of a common thing that time. Now, who did not like it? It was not liked by the elite ashrafs, a lot of them, who are like 5% of the population, but their prestige depends upon how sort of this population likes them. And they did not like it, then there's a resentment that arose among them. This led to the movements called Farazi movement. And of this Farazi movement, one product is Titumir, who is incidentally a very bigoted person who should be denounced. Even Karl Marx denounced him, but the Marxists celebrate him now. Suddenly he became this bigoted fanatic, has become a great Muslim champion of harmony, although he was extremely bigoted guy. And these persons, now what Mujib is saying, I have quoted in my book from the Mujib's own autobiography. He likes the Titumir brand of Islam. Haji Sariatullah, sort of a similar person's brand of Islam. Now, once you take the narrative in that region, there is no way it can be sort of, there will be harmony. Harmony requires a sort of a more non-rigid notion, and there is no sort of a linear plan to conquer other, that sort of a thing. That is completely missing in this Titumir plan. And therefore, it has to happen what is happening. I'll give you a secret away here. My co-author wrote a smaller version of the book. This book is around 90,000. He wrote around 30,000 words in 2018. And it was published in some small portal in Bengali. And he predicted a lot of these things. And that time, Amartya Sen was celebrating Bangladesh. He was saying these Bangladeshis, Muslims are very broad-minded, as opposed to the Hindus of India, who are very narrow-minded. That's, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, of course. The exact quote is there in my book, but almost similar. Now, whose prediction came to be the right one? Had Bangladesh been full of so much broad-minded people, how things are becoming what it has become? That even New York Times is making a new big headline of Hindu persecution in Bangladesh. So, of course, this prediction is false. And this is exactly my humble point. I'm not saying the liberals are bad person or anything like that. They might have the good intentions and all, but their knowledge is flawed, and they should humbly learn about it, like any right intention person. That we have right intentions, but not everything we believe that sort of right. We should take lessons and move on, and sort of be more knowledgeable and use it to do that progress of humanity. But they actually refuse to do that. They said, whatever we know the best, and you are not good enough to be liberal, so shut down. And this is exactly the problem. So because these people are putting down in their place, that actually make themselves down. So this is exactly what is happening. And Bangladesh, I think I will not blame Mujib. I will not blame these Bangladeshis for what it has become. I will blame the others of the world. Why were they celebrating Bangladesh in spite of knowing Chakmas? In the Chakmas, it is a population less than 1 million. But in 20,000 people were sort of killed. 1 lakh people got out of Bangladesh. It's huge, proportionately, if you think about, it's a huge thing. But the entire world is looking away. And when they are looking away, all these perpetrators, they are getting emboldened, right? And that is what they are doing now. This is exactly sort of what has to happen. I mean, it is very sad and all, but if there is a consequences, like, Barack Obama once said, the elections have consequences. Similarly, narratives have also consequences. Flawed knowledges have also consequences. and that has to be recognized.
Yes, so I'll go back to your so the two uh, aspects of your book, which actually I know because I interviewed previous people who have been to Bangladesh, but your book has elaborated and given more substance to those arguments. One was you mentioned in the page 141 that in Bangladesh, several times when I was introduced to a Hindu Bangladeshi, he or she would be called my Indian friend. That's your book page number 141. That's a very intriguing quote, and you have put it in the bold. Okay. So, could you give? I'll read again for the audience. In Bangladesh, several times when I was introduced to a Hindu Bangladeshi, he or she would be called my Indian friend. So, could you decouple, decipher this thing for the audience?
So this was not written by any Hindu, by the way. This was written by an American researcher, Yvette Rosser. Yvette Rosser, she came to Bangladesh to do her research, and this is not now. This is long time ago, 2000. And that time she found that all the Hindus are referred. I mean, a lot of Hindus are referred. If you forget the top educated echelon who know the policy of language, beyond that, Hindus are referred as Indians, maybe Indians in exile. And there is a saying in Bangladesh, that all the Hindus have their 1 feet in India. 1 foot is
Yeah.
in India. That's what it is. Right. So basically, the otherization, the project is called otherization. When you want to sort of do atrocities on others, violence, you have to give the dog a bad name, right? Before you sort of shoot it. So you sort of otherize the people, you call them bad, and then you do all sorts of bad things because it is justified. That is exactly happening in Bangladesh for Hindus. And this is recorded 1 generation ago, and things have deteriorated much, much since then.
Yeah, so I'll ask you two more questions, and also I will take a comment from Deepta, and then we'll go to audience questions. There are a few audience questions they have asked. So, so you mentioned otherization. So, I know from my previous interviews that every Muslim is termed as Shahib, and even a Hindu who is maybe a CEO of a company would not be called a Shahib. So that Deepta would know about it. What do you think this otherization has become a kind of a de facto psyche of the whole population within Bangladesh? That even a CEO of a company, even if he's a Hindu, he would not be quoted as a Shahib, this person, Mr. X.
So the point is, I mean, there is a lot of, I mean, there is maybe a small percentage of people, but in number they may be very high. Like even you take 1% of Bangladesh population, it is 20 lakh, right? Or even more than that. So if you take 5% of Bangladesh population as sort of good persons, it is 1 crore people. But if you look at the majority of the population, what is going on? So what I will say, I will give my friend Abdullah Al Masood, who has written a sort of an forward for my book, and he has been educated in a madrasa, Qaumi madrasa, the sort of kind where no English is taught, no mathematics is taught, no science is taught. So he writes in this book, you can read it, and this is recorded after talking to him much better. I got the clarity. So the point is, it's true that a lot of persons in the Bangladesh on the upper echelon, they are good persons, secular persons, and all. But you cannot really form a narrative that all Bangladeshis are like that or majority of like that by talking to a few of them. So what happens when our intellectuals, they go to there, they talk to that people, and they sort of think. Now, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that all I'm not any sort of a very absolutist person. I'm not saying all intellectuals are dishonest and all sorts of things. No, I think a lot of them has good intentions and they are maybe honest to their knowledge. But you have to expand your knowledge. That's humbly I'm trying to say. Now, point is they talk to their similar person, they find them this is a equally secular person, and they think the entire society is like that. But then this Abdullah Al Masood, what he is saying is the population is full of so many madrasas that being flourished, and there you don't teach any good narrative. You teach only the narrative that you don't want to listen. That sort of a narrative. Now this is sort of radicalizing this population, and when they come to vote, when they come to all sorts of things, they have an opinion, and that opinion will have a sort of a implication. And this is exactly the otherization is happening through that, right? So maybe we know, the policymakers know this is not good in some sense for the progress of the country, for the economic growth, but they can't negate it. So I give you one example. If you look at Friday as a holiday, it is not economically good thing, because what happens, the stock market is shut down when the worldwide it is happening, so it costs a lot of money for the country. Pakistan introduced it. Even Pakistan understood that this is not a sort of a good thing for the country. They withdrew it. They went back to Saturday, Sunday sort of a regime that is going on in the worldwide. Bangladesh started little after Pakistan, but then they actually doubled it up by even calling Saturday a sort of a semi-holiday, and they sort of went back, and from 1997, it's costing them money for so many years, or maybe 40 years or so. But still, they are going on with that, because that, I told you that underlying majority population, they have to be given something. So either you have to give them the economic prosperity, or the drug of something else. And that drug of religion is sort of I'm sort of with Karl Marx. It is the biggest, religion is the biggest opium. And I it is religion in the sense that it gives you an inner look or something, it's a good thing and all. But when you look at imposing religion on others, doesn't give you any inner look, it gives you on the outer look only, and then it is wholesome a bad thing.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'll come back to Deepda.
Hmm.
Deepda, are you there? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would just need your a small input, from, like, when you were traveling and talking to a wide spectrum of people in Bangladesh, and that what Kochik sir mentioned in the book, the identity crisis of a Bengali-speaking Muslim. And the second part, Tagore's outburst against Arabization of Bengali language. So I will leave it out for the people to read it. But I want your comment on this specific part, the identity crisis of a Bengali speaking Muslim, because you had spent time there speaking to wide strata of people. So, what was your observation? So, what is written in the book and your observation?
Are you asking me that whether the Bengali Muslim is not comfortable with Bengali? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that Bengali identity that is professed, okay, that everybody Bengali speaking is a Bengali by default. But what is written in
Yes,
the
I
book
mean, yes, but
by Mr. Kaushik or Kaushik or
it's a
something like that?
curious thing. It's not as if they're uncomfortable with the language. They love the language, and some of their writers are some of the literature that has come out from Bengali Muslims, in that part of the world is very good literature. So it's not as if their religiosity has kind of pushed the uh, Bengali language back. In fact, one of the 1971 narratives was that they had this thing against Urdu, because it was a language war. On the face of it, it was a language war, and sort of they rejected Urdu for Bengali. But what I figured out was, there in civil society there was not such hatred for Urdu as you thought there was, right? Like, for instance, there is I mean, this bit is known that India Pakistan match, perhaps they would always support Pakistan, but they would also listen to Pakistani musicians. They would listen to they would know a lot of Urdu, right? They would, as in, even if they didn't speak it, they would know Urdu words, and because they're familiar with the music scene in Pakistan. Okay, so I think it was, like I said, it was an official narrative, Bengali over Urdu, but it is not really that. I mean, not anymore, definitely. But if you're asking me, that there have been a lot of Arabic words and Urdu words that have come into the language, but are they as a whole uninterested or trying to push back Bengali? No, I don't think that is necessarily true. because I'm not yet, and I hope never, because I think that a love for language and comfort level with the Bengali language is there in the Bengali Muslim in Bangladesh. There are
Yeah,
also
I'll
these
just add one
various
point.
dialects of there are also these different dialects, right? I mean, if you, for instance, go to Chittagong, you won't be
Sileti,
able to,
Sileti is there.
you won't be able to, huh? Yeah,
Sileti,
Chattogram. You would not be,
Sileti language.
yes, you won't be able to understand that it's a Bengali dialect. I mean, unless you really follow it, you won't be able to understand it's a dialect. So I don't think that's necessarily true that they are pushing back language, the Bengali language. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so I'll just add one point and then we'll go back to Kaushik
Yeah,
for his last comments and then we'll take audience questions. So you mentioned correct that there is no such pushback against Bengali language. So and from your conversations with people of various strata, do you see a kind of like a kind of a dichotomy and uncomfortable situation being a Muslim and being a Bengali at the same time? Are they comfortable merging both of them together, or they see it's kind of a difficult thing to manage? Like for a Hindu Bengali, it is natural, but for a Muslim Bengali, is that a same as a Hindu experience?
So this has been answered by two persons. One is Ahmed Chopra.
Ahmad
Ahmed
Shah.
Chopra was a celebrated sort of intellectual. Um, Ahmed Chopra, he sort of has a book, or actually it was a essay. It was an essay, and then it was sort of expanded to a book. Bangali Musalmaner Mon. So
Yeah,
he talked about this language issue here. So he said, and then it goes back to the identity question again. So essentially, Muslims, before let's say 200 years ago, before this modernity has come to us, so we used to think, the Muslims used to think that we'll go to heaven, right? And what will be spoken in heaven? So that theology says that it will be Arabic will be spoken. So if you don't know Arabic, you won't have any friend in heaven. And then what will you do? So that was the anxiety the society had, and that's why they are learning, trying to do Arabic or version of Arabic and all. And of course, they did not do much on that. I mean, they have done some of most of the Muslims, Bengali speaking Muslims, if not easy for them to imbibe Arabic, right?
yeah,
So many parts of the society, Muslim society, they have gone through the same experience. And what they have done? They have changed their language by infusing Arabic words. In fact, if you think Bengali is a language Sileti is not part of, yeah, it's true. I can't understand Sileti. But two persons speaking Arabic would not be able to understand each other is a quite common thing, because Arabic is not really a language, it's a macro language. It is spoken in so many countries, but no two countries people sort of mostly understand each other. I have given reference and quoted on that in my book. Because of this experience that Ahmed Shafa says, because of that it sort of happened, right? Because now for a Muslim there is a tension there. And what that tension is leading them is to infuse heavily Arabic, Persian, Turkish words in Bengali, replacing the Sanskrit ones. So I have given a reference in my book, Tagore. In his exceptionally loud tone for Tagore, he took offense that these words are coming into Bengali. Incidentally, this has been censored by the liberals from the Rabindranath Rachanabali. Um, of course, they believe in freedom of expression. And then this Tagore, what he has done, so he took this note and all. That time, these words, in fact, a decade after that offense was taken by Tagore, the number of such words was less than 2,000. So in Tagore's time, maybe hardly 1,000. Now, right now, there's a dictionary that has come out like 4 years ago from Dhaka, where 9,000 such words have been noted, and it is written in the dictionary itself. We are unable to take cognizance of all the words because compiled and all these sort of things. Number must be much more, and we'll do it in the next edition. So you can see there is a exponential growth of such words. Now I am not completely against absorption of other language words in a language. I have nothing against that as such. In fact, my favorite Bengali poet is actually Nazrul, who used a lot of these words. But my humble point is they should come organically, not out
Yeah.
of a religious sort of motivation. Then it creates a sort of an identity problem and other things that we discussed in this podcast.
Yes, so I would highly recommend people let me share the screen again because this is important. Yeah.
So, but this will be back in Amazon maybe in a day or two. Even though it's out of stock, they have done some arrangement and they're printing it. So it will
Ah,
be
yeah,
back in
yeah.
available in Amazon in a day or two. In by
Okay,
they
okay.
told me Monday. I don't believe them completely. So Tuesday would be a safe bet. Uh,
Ah,
to check in Amazon, I can order. But of course, Garuda website is also there.
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. So
And I
I will
humbly
actually,
request,
we will,
may I humbly
yeah,
request
please.
all the listeners, please, please, including uh, the host and Deep, please give me an Amazon review. It helps the book
Yes,
for
yes, absolutely.
small people like me.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I will. Actually, I am almost done with the book. I will share the review in my channel as well, in the community post as well as in Amazon post. It
And
will be
Kaushik,
there.
please have a book talk, not a book release function, but a book talk in Kolkata.
I will have a book talk and release function on 14th June when the Bengali version will be released.
Okay, when where in Kolkata?
Kolkata.
Oh, very good. 14th
The
June,
Bengali
na?
version.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So just to everybody, the books link is there in the description. I'll also add the Amazon link as well in the description. It's also in the chat. So go go ahead and buy the book. And I would recommend people reading this chapter called "The Mind of Bengali Muslim." So there are fascinating chapters in the book, but whichever I find very interesting. So this chapter in page 195, called "The Mind of Bengali Muslim," is fascinating for me. The way it is written and the way it shows in its research. So we are done with the book talk. Okay, and this is on the book itself. So now we will take some audience questions, and so let me just select a few of them. There are a lot of questions which have come. Uh, Let me just. Okay. So this is a request from Boishali Kanjilal. Please also speak about why West Bengal Hindus salivate that the very sight of a Bangladeshi, often lowering our own standards to adjust and make space for them, particularly uh, true of artists. So, Deepda or Kaushik sir, if you want to
No, but I already told
share
you
your
the
thoughts.
Abdullah Al Masood what he said. So a lot of these Bengali intellectuals probably naive rather than malevolent. They go there and they talk to a fellow intellectual and thinks everybody is like that.
Yeah.
But that's not how it works.
Understood, understood. Yeah, so we have one more question from Retrowave. Do you think it is possible for Pakistan or Bangladesh to dissolve Islamism from their identity uh, when their whole identity and origin starts and ends with Islam to differentiate from Bharat? So it's a like overarching question regarding identity, politics, and other things.
Yeah. You want me to talk about it?
Yeah, both of you can answer. Both of you can answer. Whoever thinks it's little
No.
bit
Just
out of
short
topic,
answer.
but
No.
no. Kaushik sir. Kaushik sir.
Now,
Your
I
answer
would
is
say
short
that
or bit.
countries have narratives. So you
Yeah.
see, the same
Hmm.
people can have different names as different countries. Like I mean, the same people are Ottomans, then they become Turks. As Ottomans, they used to hate the local language. At Turks, they actually revived their own language and sort of it is sort of from the village words they constructed the entire language. It's an amazing project in 1920s by Kamal Ataturk. But now, what is happening in Turk again? It is the same story that is happening in Bangladesh is taking place. The others party is not happy and they are taking over. And we have seen the recent times. Turkey has absolutely no geostrategic sense to come to the conflict between India and Pakistan. And they have come only for a sort of a narrative reason, right? No other reason. Now, these countries, these people can definitely dissolve themselves and they can grow out of medieval level fanaticism and go for a progress and all these things. But the countries based on which the narrative based on which they are built upon, I don't think they can change it very easily. Pakistan is essentially a negation of India. Pakistan is a negation of Bharat. That's what Pakistan is. It is, they told it openly, and that is what it is. There's no secret or ifs and buts about it. I'm not saying all Pakistanis are bad. In fact, I met some Pakistanis in the West. I have never been to Pakistan, but met many Pakistanis in West, and they are pretty good people. And I have no problem point, and I'm pretty sure that they could be very reasonable people. In fact, it is, I don't know. It is a lot of hypothesis. I find elite Pakistanis are sort of better people than even elite Bangladeshis. That's what my humble opinion is. But but anyway, but I don't think the narrative of the country can stay as long as this name is there. So if it is a new name, new narrative, why not? I'm always would have to be optimistic about it.
Yeah, so we have one more question from our member. Uh, Ask, is the love of Bengali language just being kept alive to fuel their greater Bangladesh rhetoric? So, to both of you, I think we can answer that. So the
I
question
think
is that okay,
I've
this love
spoken
for
a lot.
Bangla.
Huh?
Hmm,
No, greater Bangladesh rhetoric is sort of a wrong word. Um,
hmm,
Rhetoric is something is spoken again and again. And
Yeah.
what Deep said that they don't speak it very publicly about it, but of course it is there. Otherwise, a very senior minister of their cabinet, Yunus cabinet, he sort of talked about it. He wrote a tweet with the maps and all that I have produced in my book also. So they want this map of Greater Bangladesh, which essentially a lot of parts of eastern India. Uh, but the point is that love for Great Bengali language is so. I mean, here it is. A pure love has to be selfless. So if it is only love for Bengali language, then it has to be very selfless love. You don't expect anything. You don't want any economic benefit, anything for loving their language. If that is the case, of course, I don't think many people among the Indians also are of like that. I don't know, we are recently seeing the love for Kannada language, love for this language, that language are growing up very tremendously. And often, if you ask these lovers of their own language, just recite a few lines, something written 100 years ago from that language, they would not be able to say anything on that. So these loves are not often not selfless loves; they are very selfish loves for some other reasons.
This is very interesting, and this is for actually Deepda. So Baramalika Smriti is asking, was Hasina just a speed bump on the route to Bangladesh reversion to East Bangladesh?
East
Is
Pakistan, I think.
Deepda
Pakistan.
would be able. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
like I said, it's very hard to say a definitive yes or no. They would definitely want their sovereignty. I think even now they want their sovereignty. Though there are allegations that Yunus is trying to sell their sovereignty to both America and to China. But I think they would want a more they would want a closer tie to Pakistan because of course religiosity than what was at least publicly visible during Sheikh Hasina's time. And Sheikh Hasina was firm about this. I mean, she also did a little bit of balancing between India and China, but I think she kept Pakistan aside. Now that she's not there in the scene, I think no, they don't want to be. I mean, they don't want to lose their sovereignty to Pakistan. They definitely don't mind being very close to Pakistan again. I
Got
mean,
it.
BNP has
So I think
traditionally been known to be close to Pakistan, as
yes,
opposed to the Army
yes.
League. But Jamaat is the same. in both countries. It's you have Bangladesh Jamaat Islami, but the Jamaat has they're saying interesting things now. They're talking of secularism. They're talking with India. But you know what the Jamaat is about. But so there was always this. Once the Mukti Juddho sentiment was worn off, I think there is, Shahbag, the great Shahbag movement, very interesting movement, where a lot of secular bloggers were killed on the roads, on the streets of Dhaka. Now, Shahbagi, if somebody calls you a Shahbagi, it's almost a gully. It's almost a gully. It's a gully. So I mean, it's crazy. I mean, they stood for some very interesting ideas. So they won't definitely. East Pakistan was the sort of eastern arm of Pakistan, but it was the same country. So no, they won't want to be don't want to be East Pakistan again, but they would definitely want to be close. At least the prevailing sentiment now is they want to be they're closer to Pakistan than they're to India. But it's complicated to say it's just religiosity would not also be right, because they really they really hated Hasina, and Hasina did steal elections. I mean, she really walked out well for India. It was a good strategic partnership, but I have covered the last election. It was a sham of an election. But so there was all that anti-incumbency kind of also resulted in India hate, because Bangladeshis felt that India is keeping her. So nobody wants the sense that India dictates everything in Bangladesh is not a good sense. I mean, let's be honest. So, and that sense was there, rightly or wrongly, during Hasina's time. So, but so they are definitely now closer in their headspace with Pakistan than they are to India. Definitely.
Yeah, so thank you. Last comment. Sorry for people who are asking a lot of questions. So I have taken only questions which are relevant to the topic. There are a few questions which are not relevant. So we'll take them in some other time. So the last comment I will take for Kaushik da. This is from a person who lives in Bangladesh. So he is asking, oh my God, there are so many comments I lost where his last comment was. Uh, Yeah, actually, he wants. Is the book available in Bangladesh? Kaushik said to you, is the book available in Bangladesh? People can buy in Bangladesh this book that you have written.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
Milton.
I got the comment. I got the comment. He is from Bangladesh itself.
Right. I mean, it will be published in Bengali shortly from Boibandhu. Now, whether you can get the book in Bangladesh or not, I can talk to my publisher. I don't know actually. I have no knowledge about it. Um, so, of course, I will be very happy it goes and other things. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you everyone.
But my
Thank you
sense is
Kaushik.
that, but I'll tell you something. My sense is that suppose it is publicly available in Bangladesh, it's dangerous
Mhm.
because you are going to buy the book, you'll be marked. So all the issues are
That
there
is
also.
also okay.
Uh, like in,
Yeah,
when
we will.
no, when we when I was young, so there's a paper called Ganashakti by the
Yeah.
ruling establishment.
Yeah.
If you don't buy that paper, then you will be sort of marked. So
Yeah.
that's sort of a thing. Yeah.
Yes, of course. We will find a way. We'll find a way to send you the book. Okay, just wait for the Bengali version to come. So we'll send you the Bengali version itself. So thank you, Deepda. Thank you,
Thank
Kaushik
you.
sir,
Always a
for your
pleasure.
time.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah. So I will share the review on Monday, most probably, because I am traveling. If you can see from my background. So I will be give the review and also put the both the links on the comments and also on the chat. I'll pin them so people can buy the book, and maybe I will create some shorts as well for this. I think there's some juicy comments that we have received, so we can make a good shorts of Deepda and Kaushik sir. So
Thank you so much
thank
So
you for
nice.
giving me
both
that
of you,
time.
Deepda and Kaushik
Hmm.
sir. Yeah, Jai Shri Ram, Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram.